I see the red border, so I think you can see my screen and we are good to go. The recording is starting. And one of the first things, yes, you will get the slides on the official website, and you can have also access to the recording a little bit later. Correct, Peggy?
You are correct.
Correct. Wonderful, wonderful. So next round, next session, welcome to Microsoft Purview and Exchange. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much to the organizers in the background, to all of the people who are creating this conference and bring back this conference. I'm a Mac fan, so Mac is back. Thank you to Jen and to Scott and to all of the people in the background. And yeah, let's start. I have around, and start my clock. We have around 45 minutes and some minutes Q&A. So we will start. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat. Feel free to raise your hand. I will stop between the session, between the chapters, and we'll have a look at the chat and at the hands. And also, I will have at the end some time to discuss and yeah, to answer your question or show you something. I have my demo environment with me, so all fine. And Peggy will have a look also at the chat. So thank you very much if I don't see the question. So let's start why I'm sitting here, why I'm talking. My name is Raphael Köllner. I'm from Germany. Hopefully you heard a little bit of my accent. I'm one of the 120 Microsoft Media Directors at the business program leadership, and I'm MVP for Office Apps and Services and MVP for Exchange and also MVP for Azure and for Windows. And I'm a part of the team's leader team and all of these parts. So I'm combining the law and the IT. I'm leading a company, a Microsoft partner here in Europe, creating also compliance solutions and talking about this. And you see, I'm a community guy, so I created the Office 365 community in Germany, SharePoint Saturdays, Azure Meetup, and all of this. So also the compliance family, if you want to learn more about compliance with all of these amazing MVPs, join the community. And let's start in the session. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat, raise your hand, send me a tweet via Twitter, LinkedIn, or send me an email. I will answer and discuss with you about every topic. So what we want to learn in this session. At first, what means compliance? Raphael is talking about compliance. What means compliance? Also in connection with Exchange. Then we want to have a look at Microsoft Purview, the Microsoft Purview solutions we can use via the Microsoft Purview Center. What means Microsoft Purview in combination with Exchange? We will have a look at the architecture. I create a very new architecture slide, and we make a walkthrough through the solutions. I think we don't have the chance to have a look at all solutions, but I create slides for all solutions, so we will see how fast I can go through the solution. So we make a walkthrough through the Microsoft Purview solutions. At the end, also at the data privacy solution or privacy management, which calls Priva, but at first focus on Microsoft Purview. With information protection, customer logbox, customer key, data lifecycle, logbox, all of these very interesting products with a lot of best practices and use cases. And out of my career of 20 years of consulting and working for international companies, we will have a lot of topics and a lot of stories. So when we have these topics, I bring them into the agenda. So we have introduction, what's mean compliance, Purview meets Exchange, walkthrough through the products of Microsoft Purview in combination with Exchange, and Purview topics and best practices also combined into all of these parts of my session, and a Q&A while the session and at the end of the session. And here's some noise and dogs. If you are in this session, please mute yourself. And when you want to say something, raise your hands, and then you can say something. Thank you very much. At the end, at first, thesis. Every session have to start with a thesis, and my thesis is Exchange loves Microsoft Purview. And at the end, we will see how big is the love and how big is the combination and why is Microsoft Purview the future of compliance solutions in Exchange and in Microsoft 365. So at the beginning, I talked so much about compliance. Let's start and explain what it means compliance. What is compliance? And I have a look into the dictionary, in the Oxford Advanced American Dictionary, and you see here the compliance definition means the proper compliance, or compliance with the rules, or compliance with the rules. So for me, yes, you have to be compliance with all of the rules. When we have a look which rules we means, and you see here, oh, it's something in German, but we see here compliance in the medicine, in physiology, in law, in IT compliance, tax compliance, on compliance cross the areas, and we see more and more of these information. So I love to see all of this. So when we have a look a little bit deeper, and I'm very happy to see all of you here, and hopefully you are, for example, a compliance officer, or you have ideas, or you have current challenges to talk about compliance in this area. So I'm very happy to see all of you here. So let's go forward and see what are these compliance rules. And I collected and start to collect all of these rules, and I collected 15,000 around the world, and hundreds of compliance guidance, guidelines, and we can find for a lot of these solutions in the compliance manager. We will talk a little bit later about it. And we see here, for example, record management, GDPR, free from Europe, from Germany. We are GDPR lovers. HIPAA, also record management, retention, also ISO certifications, legal cases, all of these. So hundreds of compliance guardians from law to company. And when we have a deeper look into these, I bring with me some of these typical certificates and rules we want to be compared with it and we want to use. And I see, for example, and if we have a look at the US, hopefully everyone knows that here is the SEC 17A4. That's comparing in Germany, for example, to the rules out of the financial area, how long you have to store bills, for example. That's the same for in the SEC 70A4. So I'm very practicing in these tools and fulfill these with Purview solutions, so with data lifecycle and record management, for example. And we have also more and more EU contract model clauses. We have HIPAA also, and from Germany, the BITE is a special IT regulation default standard for financial offices, and we have one more TSAX, that's for the car builder industry, and we have all international standards like SOC, and yes, most and not most, all of the Purview solutions also are SOC 2 and SOC 3 compliant. So very cool that we have a deeper look here to fulfill the compliance, and that the tools we use are also compliant or fulfill the regulations. The same when we have a look on the worldwide map. Thank you to a Microsoft guy who created one of these amazing slide here. We see a lot of regulations around the world, and we have to fulfill these regulations. So when we start with a Microsoft 365 project, we start to implement Exchange, Exchange server farms worldwide, or Exchange Online, multi-geo environments with Exchange Online in different countries, different regions. So we have to fulfill all of these rules and the special rules in the countries, for example, in Europe or in Germany, or we see here in the United States or Canada and or Australia, and all of, hopefully you can find your country here also. Back here, your country here on this slide. So let's have a deeper look into Microsoft Purview. And start with the overview. At the beginning, you find Microsoft Purview, or you see Microsoft Purview as an waiting. Let's see here. I see the. Okay, it's okay. Now it's away. Perfect. The widgets have to go away. They don't want to go away. Wait, perfect. Okay, go back. What is Microsoft Purview? Before the name is changed, you know it under Compliance Center, Compliance Regulation. So that was the last product change. We have the Defender product line. We have now the Microsoft Purview product line, and that's what we want to talk today about it. So for me, Microsoft, it's my one. Microsoft Purview is my hub or your hub to fulfill compliance regulations worldwide. And how we can start? We can start with a compliance manager, and there we have regulations and comparing with ideas how we can fulfill it, and not ideas, and also checklists how we can fulfill. For me, the first one is data classification. Data classification is the key. You need e-discovery for legal hold and legal cases. You have data lifecycle is one of my favorite Purview tools to fulfill, for example, 70A4 regulations, US or GDPR regulations that automatically deletion of data, automatically end of create or proceeding personal data, and compliance, and that is the end. Microsoft Purview or compliance projects and Microsoft Purview projects are people projects. Yes, you have to take care that all of your attendees, employees take care about it. It knows why they do this, why they classificate data, and why they classificate the email, why they make a data recovery label on it, and all of these. So explain, and explain the reasons. When we have a look and start with the Microsoft Purview compliance portal, and that's a screenshot from this morning. You see here, you have the Microsoft Purview portal, and the Microsoft Purview portal, you see a lot of tools. Comparing to Exchange, to SharePoint, to Microsoft Teams, and you see here, for example, when we have a look here a little bit, I choose the laser pointer. For example, minimize communication risk. Yes, it's a part of Exchange, a part also of Microsoft Teams, for example, when we have communication compliance. That was my first session today. We have activity alerts with DLP rules, and you see here SharePoint site admin was setting and DLP rule for Exchange. It's for me a high serenity it working here, and we have our compliance score of this demo environment. No, it's not the best one, over 72% comparing to the other organization, but yeah, it's in the beginning, it's my test 10, and you see all of my retention data lifecycle, Microsoft Purview data lifecycle items, for example, regulatory record, decision labels, documents, HR department documents, and all of this. So you see the labels, you see a lot of overview, and we have a look a little bit later and deeper into the Microsoft Purview Center and discussed about it. And before we start and have a deeper look to the products and how the products work together, let's start a little bit with the history channel. And I love this, the history channel of Microsoft Purview and Exchange. And this is the Mac, and I love it. And the last Mac is a couple of years ago. So start and have a look, okay, at Microsoft Purview a couple of years ago, and we're starting with Exchange, and there was no Microsoft Purview tool. There was no compliance center at the beginning. There was the Exchange server and the Exchange server farm, and what we have there in compliance tools or Microsoft Purview tools, we call it today. We have retention tags, retention policies, journaling, spam protection, and third-party options and gateways, for example, for S-MINE, spam protection, all of this. We have also the journaling for backup with third-party tools like what we can say, VM, Quest, AvePoint, Mailgate, and all of these third-party solutions for backupping my Exchange, backup from my Exchange server. And when we go forward, some years ago, we see the Compliance Center with retention labeling, Azure Information Protection, RMS. Hopefully you remember the RMS app on your phone where you can send and protect it file via email. For example, when you make a picture of a chart in the meeting room, you can make a picture and send via this app and protected email with OME, with Office Message Encryption. Hopefully, you see the session before the session from Ziggy Jagodt. He's talking about Office Message Encryption. We're talking also about today a little bit about Office Message Encryption, and we're starting with retention labels and Azure Information Protection and e-discovery and all of this. And the way is going to exchange online and hybrid solutions, what we see today. And some years later, we have the security center too, and moving mail flow and all of this functionality from Exchange admin center to the security center. Yeah, it's also possible in the Exchange admin center, but moving to the security center, so moving features and functionality from Exchange to compliance and security center. And we see more and more today. We have the Purview Center and the Defender Center, where we find solutions, Purview from compliance, Defender for security in the centers, and we see more and more. And when you have a look into an example, and we have a look at retention tax and retention policies, and the future is, and we have here, no, please have a look at this yellow sign. You can create and publish labels in Office 365 compliance and security center. They mean the Microsoft Purview Center to protect content in SharePoint, OneDrive, Exchange, and Microsoft 365 groups. So what they mean is, okay, the future is Microsoft Purview. The future is Microsoft Purview data lifecycle. The future is Microsoft Purview information protection. So if you want to talk about and start with retention tax, don't do it. Go to the Microsoft Purview Center, start with retention labeling, and have a look to migrate retention tax and retention, the retention tax and retention policies to Microsoft Purview data lifecycle to be ready for the future, to be ready with your Exchange online and also with your Exchange server, hopefully in the hybrid environment, and then with Exchange online, be ready with Microsoft Purview and Purview data lifecycle. So that is the future is, my session here was talking about Microsoft Purview and Exchange. And one more, and I love this. When I have a look deeper and deeper, Exchange is for me, and some background information, is compliance too. So when we have a look, for example, in the Exchange mailboxes and compliance storage is the Exchange mailboxes. When we have a look, and that's also, it's only an example. When you have a look and say, okay, I want to check with communication compliance or with e-discovery, the chat messages in Teams, where are these chat messages will be stored. They will be stored in the Exchange mailbox of the user. So check its Exchange. When you have groups mailboxes and all of this recordings in the SharePoint part. So we have parts in SharePoint, and more is stored in the Exchange mailbox. So if you have a deeper look, more and more of this information will be stored in the Exchange mailbox. You need the Exchange chamlets to start and create solutions in the Microsoft Purview portal together. So Exchange, and also you have the data encryption policies with customer key. And there was also 2 sessions on this conference about customer key. So I don't go very deep, but this is also very interesting. So for me, Exchange is compliance. So a lot of these solutions, also the Microsoft Information Protection solution, everything is compliant everything is Exchange also in the background. So I love it, and I love this session, and thank you very much that I can have this session to talk about Microsoft Purview meets Exchange. And so let's have a deeper look into the architecture of products. And I talk about 2 products, Microsoft Purview Information Protection, where you can protect your emails, where you can encrypt your emails, where you can classify and flag your emails. And on the other side, you have Microsoft Purview Data Lifecycle, where you can classify it and flag your emails too. So you have both 2 flags on your email and attachment, but you have only one for every product. So no 2 information protection flags like this. So classified on information protection and classified on data Microsoft Purview data lifecycle. Before it called data lifecycle, it was a retention labeling and retention. What is the baseline? The baseline is Microsoft Purview customer key. Yes, you have your Exchange online server farm or your Exchange online environment, and you can implement customer key. Please, for more information, look at the other sessions. We have only a short track about it. And then we go forward with outlet logs and customer key. And then we go forward with e-discovery. And then so you can take a legal hold on the Exchange mailbox, for example, on different mailboxes for legal cases. And then we have information protection Microsoft Purview. On the other side, we have also Microsoft Purview Insider Risk Management. I have the other session before about it. Microsoft Purview Communication Compliance, where we can check attachments and also the email itself, including also OCR methodic. So we have an attachment with a picture. You can use also OCR. We'll talk a little bit later. And one of my favorites too, and that's the end, is we have data loss prevention, Microsoft Purview data loss prevention in combination with this and in combination also with my Exchange server. And the last but not least, or at least two, we have the Microsoft Purview information barriers. They're also working with Exchange, and yes, you have to do some more, but we will see on the information barriers roadmap some more for Exchange. And the last one, Microsoft Purview Preview, or the Preview services, where we can extract information, personal data information, and can create policies, don't transfer data in another region, for example. So combination here. And you see the combination of Microsoft Purview products in these, top-down architecture. We will see a little bit deeper, and I create, like the security chart, my own Microsoft Purview Exchange architecture. And when we have a look a little bit deeper around all of these solutions, and you see here as an example, Microsoft Information Protection Solution, we have the Compliance Manager. The Compliance Manager is a start. You can start to find your regulations, you find your matching. What do I need, for example, to fulfill GDPR? What I have to do in the Microsoft Information Protection or the Microsoft Purview Information Protection area? What I have to do in the data lifecycle area? And then, for me, we start with customer key, data at rest encryption, then with two key vaults and availability key and my customer key. We will talk a little bit later about it, and there are also two sessions. Then we talk about Microsoft Information Protection, Office Message Encryption, S-MIME combination with a label to encrypt my emails, and we have the typical data classification too, sending inside and outside of my tenant or out of my environment. Then we have data lifecycle classification, archiving, record of emails in the Exchange server itself or in the shared mailbox itself. I have a lot of projects with this, and also you can extract the emails and put it in a SharePoint library and put a record label on it on a SharePoint library. So a lot of solutions to create an archive in Exchange itself or in combination with SharePoint. We have one more. My favorite one is also the data loss prevention, prevent of misuse and control data flows. One more, we have the e-discovery topic with legal hold, legal cases, and not e-discovery is not your backup solution. So it's only the legal hold solution, and this, for example, also extract solution from personal data, so extracting personal data, but mostly the legal hold one. And we have one more, and don't forget it, customer logbox to support control, approval access if a Microsoft engineer needs access to Exchange mailbox itself. We need an additional approval process. We have one more. The information barriers, insider risk management, communication compliance. I talked in the session before 45 minutes about it. And we have the privacy manager, the Preview, talking about data privacy, extracting personal data, and fulfill the GDPR regulations, also the regulations from the California Customer Act. So we have these architecture around of Purview solutions around our mails, our attachments, and our calendars, and our tasks. But of course, tasks go to Microsoft To Do. So focusing on email, attachment, and calendar. So, and I think it's the right time to start more deeper and a more deep dive. First, a look at the chat. I don't see a hand. I don't see questions in the chat. So I go forward with Microsoft Purview deep dive. So have a look at the different Purview tools. We see the architecture and have a look at the tools itself. And yes, we start with customer key. And with Microsoft Purview Customer Key is the official new name. What it is, you can create 2 key vaults, 1 and 2 in different subscriptions, in your subscriptions, then put keys on it in your subscription, in your Azure Key Vault, and then with these starting with Fast Track, and then implementing your customer key. So bringing your customer key to encrypt data at rest in your Exchange Online environment. This is very amazing. It's also possible for key rotation. So that's what I implement every time, is also key rotation. So that we have a key rotation for the customer key, and you have the availability key. That's the second key. It's hosted from Microsoft. You can't change this key. And you have these 2 keys to encrypt data at rest in SharePoint Online. What you encrypt, and you see here, encryption of data at rest, user and signal information in Exchange Online. You can encrypt the mailboxes via the data encryption policies. And this is here the personal mailboxes. You need a data encryption policy and put these on the mailboxes, on shared mailboxes, public folder mailboxes, Microsoft 365 group mailboxes for the tenant. So you can use these customer key solution to protect your mailboxes into Microsoft Purview customer key solution, into Exchange Online solution, and you can monitor. And that's what I do too. I monitor this solution with my SOCSIEM, and also, for example, Azure Sentinel, and also monitoring is with Azure Application Guard and application monitoring. That's I'm monitoring these 2, and you can put also in VPN, but that is more for the special session. So please go into the other 2 sessions today and tomorrow when you learn more about customer key. But it's possible, and for me, it's typical exit scenario. So you can revoke the customer key, and with a support ticket and your general manager or your CEO, you can revoke also the availability key, so nothing works anymore. And if you want to start with a FastTech program, and have a look. Start with a FastTech program and go forward, creating the keywords and start. So this is the Microsoft Purview customer key, in which companies are implemented in finance companies, in insurance, IT critics like airports, like public authorities. These are the typical ones. If you need it as a typical middle market company, you have to decide. For example, in Europe, the most of the companies implement customer key, and more implement customer key to hold the own key in your own key vault. One more. When we talk about customer key, we have to talk also about customer logbox. What is the typical scenario for Exchange? You have issues with a employee, for example, and you see, okay, they can't have access to a mail, for example, with an attachment. Then you open a support ticket in the Microsoft Admin Center, and then we start with a service process. So we have an issue, start with a service process, open a ticket. Then the engineer said, okay, we need access to the mailbox, to the customer data, or to the mailbox and the data of your employee. Then you have an approval process. You said yes or no. So, and you have to make the approval process, not your managed service partner or like this. I get often this question, can you do this approval? No, this is a part for the compliance officer, data privacy officer, information security officer. They have to decide if the Microsoft engineer gets access or not to the Exchange mailbox and to the file itself, or to the mail item itself. And then when the approval is okay, the Microsoft engineers has access, for example, for 15 minutes, for 30 minutes to check the mailbox and find a solution. So a customer logbox as a upgrade for your support cases, and it's a friend of every data privacy officer and also for every compliance officer. So if you have the licensing you need also for customer key, then implement a customer logbox process and implement a service desk or approval desk in your company that a support ticket can be proceed, and you need no longer, and the people don't need to wait too long for the approval. One more of these great solutions, I have Microsoft Purview Information Protection. We have our flag on the email and our flag on the attachment. And what we do with this, and hopefully the most of you using Microsoft Information Protection today, I'd say, okay, currently in my surrounding, we have 50% and 50% starting with Microsoft Information Protection. And I see we have a question, and that's really great. Let's have a look. Go back to the slide before. Thank you very much. Go to customer logbox and customer key. Are any features forfeited when using customer logbox or customer key? That's a very great question. When we use customer logbox or customer key, do we have any limitation in features, or we can't use anything for customer logbox? Nothing. So it's only for the support process. So there's no feature you can't use in Exchange, or it's only available for Exchange Online. No, it's also available for hybrid environment. It's not available for on-premise environments. No, that support is your case, so it's not Microsoft case. So that's not supported, but a hybrid and Exchange Online is possible. Any restriction or fortified anything or description? Nope. And this is more interesting for customer go back for customer key. When we have a deeper look, and I tested it, and for you can test it too. You can create your environment, you can create the DPE policies, and then you said, okay, I block the access for my keywords, and then see what happened. And that's what I do. When customer key is running, and you don't need a key rotation, you can implement one time. And yes, for me as a security guy, yes, we make a key rotation. If not, you can implement it one time, and it will run for the end. There are no issues while it is running, or while after the configuration, after the implementation of customer key. When you have a look at Exchange mailbox itself and customer keys running, there's no disabling any feature, or you can't use S-MINE or like this. No, you can use the email and the email box like before. You can make a backup, everything. The only thing is when you revoke the key, for example, and I will revoke it to test it. When we revoke the key, yes, then the user don't have access to their items, to their mailbox in the cloud. Yes, if it's synced on the device in Outlook, they have access to the files that are stored in Outlook, but they can't send an email or create a new access or like this. So yes, it's an application encryption. So if it works, everything is fine. Do we have any issues? No, I have companies that use it 6 years now without rotation, no issues. I have companies 2 years with rotation, no issues. Okay, you can have an issue with the rotation, but that's not a customer key problem. So no, everything is fine. You can use it, and you can use it for the access scenario or for your data privacy officer as well. Okay. Long story, long answer for a short question. But we go forward and talk about Microsoft Information Protection. And yes, we can classify the email, we can classify the attachments. We use data encryption for the attachment, for example, with a Microsoft key, with bring your own key for the attachment, and also with DKE, so with double key encryption, that is possible. For the email, we have OME, Office Method Encryption, and we have S-MINE support. When you have your own S-MINE PKI structure, you can combine it with a label and use S-MINE for the mails. DKE, double key encryption, is not possible for emails today. It's on the roadmap, I heard, but it's not implemented today. So DKE, double key encryption, hold your own key, is only available for the attachment, not for the email itself. And what I heard and see on the roadmap with this too is that information protection will come, and I see it on Last Ignite. It will come to the calendar items. so that you can protect a calendar date with Microsoft Information Protection. Currently, it's possible to protect your email, sending emails with OME, sending emails with S-MINE, and attachments. And you have you can configure very interesting things that, for example, when you put an attachment with a high confidential label into an email, the email will be also high confidential and these parts. So it's very interesting to collaborate with external, sending emails to external, sending emails to your lawyer, to your accounting team, and all of this. That's our typical scenarios with Microsoft Purview and information protection and Exchange. And also you can monitor it. And yes, audit logs are GA. So you have audit logs about these, and you have the Activity Explorer where you can see and monitor what happened to your files, what happened to your email. Yeah, Microsoft Information Protection, very great solution to protect and encrypt your emails and protect and encrypt your attachments. One more, Microsoft Purview Data Lifecycle, Microsoft Purview Record Management. I put both together. For record management, you need the compliance E5 or Microsoft 365 E5 licenses. For data lifecycle, it's in every Office 365, Microsoft 365 license included. So what is the reason why we need it? We need it to fulfill, for example, GDPR, to fulfill in Germany the principles of proper accounting, so financial rules. It's comparable to SEC Rule 70A4 or other rules which are connected to financial services, financial regulations in your country. And it's possible, yes, it's possible on the email and it's possible on the attachment. That's a second flag on your email for information protection. Then Purview, I put it in this in this part as at beginning information protection, then Purview, because it's very interesting when you put a record on your email, for example, a regulatory record. So everything is freezed. It's freezed in your shared mailbox. It's freezed in your mailbox, or it's freezed in your SharePoint when you extract it in your SharePoint library. It's not possible to change the information protection. So when you freeze something, when you freeze your email, at first information protection flag, then a record management flag, as a best practice hint, because when you freeze your email, you can't change your information protection, or you can't change your encryption too. So that's very, very interesting. That's because at first information protection, then data lifecycle, and it's possible. And I have it in my demo environment. I have default, Microsoft Purview labels, and when we have a look into my Outlook mailbox, you see here a lot of default settings, and you see here, for example, secure. So we have Peter Secure for secure documents. That's also for my emails here. So it's encrypted with OME, Office Message Encryption, and you see here retention for 5 years and then delete. So we have 5 years and then delete this file. When we have a deeper look here and have a look at advanced assigned rule, and you see here, for example, regulatory record and delete, 1 week and delete, 1 day, and you have to wait 3 days, around 3 days and delete. These are the typical, and you see here a lot of tests, typical data lifecycle policies, and this is, I tested a lot of. So these are my test labels, and as a best practice, don't use names like here, that's short retention in English, it's German. So it's better to have this one: 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, 6 years, 5 years, 10 years. That's better, because worldwide you see here, that's a better solution to give only the label years and not different names, or not names for regulation in your country, more years, because when you see, and I make a very big project, 5 times now with 64 countries worldwide, and we see it's better to have only the numbers as a label. That's fine. And when we go here and said, okay, I want to label a message, and I start here, for example, and see here a sensitivity label, and here you see, for example, for the executive board, and you see here that's sensitive labeling, also OME, so RMS at the background, and we can define, for example, it's encrypted, and not shared with someone else. What not possible is a choose label, so you can't choose like with a file, but it's working. So please use these ones to label classified, and sending emails outside or inside of your company. You can do it as a messaging policy too, so that every message, for example, which has the secure word in this part of an email, it's automatically confidential, or you have the executive board. All of these automatically things are possible nearby to the typical auto labeling functionality, which are also working in Exchange, Exchange Archive mailbox. So this is very cool that you have data lifecycle and information protection both in one solution, and it calls the Purview product lifecycle. From me, record management to take care of it. A hint here, a very short hint, so we have to go forward. A very short hint to record management. When you use these, and go here and use the assigned policy, the regulatory record, this frees your email, and you can't delete it. You can't move it outside of this container. So take care of it. And when you have a shared mailbox, and I have a scenario, very interesting. We have a shared mailbox like builds at contoso.com, and all builds will be delivered to this email box, and then they will copy it or store it into SAP or into Dynamics to pay the builds. And you have a limit, storage limit in shared mailboxes, and when you have an enterprise company, and every mail will be freezed so that you can't delete it for 10 years, for example, or for 6 years, your mailbox storage limit rise up and can be full. So you have to change and connect other mailboxes to your builds at Contoso Inc. company. So that's one of my best practice hints. You have to think about what you do if you store it in these public mail or shared mailboxes with regulatory record or not. Beware of the storage limit. One more and go forward, and then I have a look if we have a question. No, currently not. Let's talk about Microsoft Purview data loss prevention. When you have creating data classification with Microsoft Information Protection, the next thing is, or this in the same project, please have a look at data loss prevention. So data loss prevention in Exchange means that you can't send an email with an attachment outside, that you can't share with a sharing optionality, for example, in OneDrive or SharePoint outside of your company, that you prevent the loss of data, that you prevent that sending NDA information outside, and that you prevent for data privacy challenges and issues, GDPR issues when you're sending data to the wrong people. I often, before data loss prevention is such a great tool, I started with mail flow rules. For example, my junior consultant can't send offers to clients, and I said, okay, don't send offers to clients. Currently, I migrate all of these typical Exchange rules I know from my Exchange on-premise farm to data loss prevention. Said, okay, this is not possible. Don't sending financial data. Don't sending these keywords. I move all of this to data loss prevention solution. So if you have these rules, please migrate them to data loss, because data loss is the future in combination with data lifecycle and information protection. And if you have this data loss prevention, please have a look at the other session, communication compliance insider risk. You can use these policy too for communication compliance and insider risk. I see a hands up. That's great. Let's see the question or the hand. Do you have any question? Feel free.
I put the question in the chat. Basically, I saw on your slide, previous slide, like two slides ago, that you could move things to archive via Purview. We weren't able to find that because we're trying to get out of MRM.
Here, you mean this slide?
Move to archive mailbox.
Yeah, that's possible with the typical Exchange functionality. You see it here.
Right. With MRM, but can Purview do it?
No, Purview can do it in this moment. No, hopefully I talked to the record, to the Purview team, Erica, for example, and said, okay, maybe it will come in the future, but currently with typical data Purview, it's not possible. So this, when you move automatically into the archive mailbox, you need the archive policy, but hopefully it will be moved. But I can't say anything to this official. So maybe
we've got a
maybe
DCR open
hopefully.
right now on that exact thing. That's why I was so concerned. I was like, wait, you can do that? So all right, thank you.
No. What I mean is you move it with these policy automatically, or what I see very often is that you say, okay, I move it manually and then put the regulatory record on it. That is the typical best practice use case. Don't move automatically and make a regulatory record on it because you freeze it. You freeze it and no one can delete it for 10 years, for example. So take care of it. That's because I see, okay, automatically moving policy are not my friend. So if you have it, yeah, we can talk after the session also about it. Send me an email, please. Okay, one more data loss prevention. We talked about it, and I see I have only a couple of minutes, but it's okay. I talked also about e-discovery, and I see here, for example, the locations where I can search Exchange mailboxes, group mailboxes, Teams, yes, Teams chats, because it's stored in the mailboxes, Exchange public folders, Yammer messages also because it's stored in the Exchange mailboxes, and yeah, it's no backup. That's very, very, very clear. It's not a backup. It's only legal cases, and also for extract personal data for GDPR or California Consumer Act, yeah, California Customer Act, so Customer Act, or the personal data search and legislation hold for legal cases. That's typical. You don't need Exchange e-discovery Advanced. With Advanced, you have more features, but you can use for Exchange Online e-discovery. But when you have the compliance licenses, you have e-discovery Advanced. So that's very cool. One more, and this is one also of my favorite topics, and hopefully since the question before, we see some more information on Ignite about Microsoft Purview information barriers and Exchange. So if you said, okay, I want to use information barriers for Exchange to restrict communication between A and B, or between A and C, or A and B are together, and we don't combine it with C, and you see it here, I copy it out of the documentation. IBM information barriers policy aren't available to restrict communication and collaboration between groups and users in email messages. So hopefully on Ignite, that's the wish to the Exchange product group, please put it into the information barriers policies that we can prevent also email communication between these departments internally. So not, for example, sending to Outlook.com and from Outlook.com, so that's okay, but internally like a Teams chat or like an invitation to Teams meeting, the same for classic email communication. If you want to do it today, you have to change your address book policies, and when you add information barriers to your organization, you have to change your goals too. So hopefully in the future we will see, and it's on the wish list and on the feedback wish list too from us as an MVP to see the information barriers for Exchange Mail too. Last thing. Risk management and compliance, and yes, I have 2 minutes left. This was the other session. Please have a look at the other session too. Yes, insider risk management is possible. Sending emails and attachments to find the insider or to block the insider. You see here screenshot out of the creating an insider risk policy. Please have a look at my first session where we have a detailed information about it. It's the same for communication compliance, where it's possible to monitor Exchange email inside, outbound, or internally, and also including with OCR for attachments like images or images into an email. And yeah, this is one of my favorite ones. I'm using communication compliance for this, for example, in the trading market, stock market, stock trading, all of this. This is a typical hint for these controls. So goal is control and check the email communication with communication compliance, and at the end, the privacy management. I skip a little bit. Today it's Priva and it's not Purview, so I can skip it. But have a look at it. We have Microsoft privacy management risk, so risk policies, which don't work today for Exchange, hopefully in the future. And we have separate write requests, so we can extract information out of Exchange mailboxes too. It's the same as GDPR. And the last thing, and I'm talking 3 minutes too long, but we have the technical auxiliary measures, for example, for GDPR compliant with Exchange Online, and I think you are very interested in it. So we have the technical ones: customer key, customer logbox, data classification, data lifecycle, data preview, so a combination out of preview products. Also backup via journaling, for example. We have some regulations, it's optional. We have some regulations with GDPR2 in some areas, some industry areas we need backup, like in financial areas too. We need an admin concept, e-discovery and Priva for data right management, and encryption with S-MINE for high sensitive data. OME is not enough when you have the regulations here in Germany, Regulations Office, Data Privacy Officer. Organizational contracts with additional safeguards, additional contracts, current DPA from September last year with EU model clauses, risk management with TOMS, privacy policy terms and data protection, impact assessment from GDPR to fulfill the GDPR regulations. And for me, and this is a very best practice hint, when you start with Exchange Online, Exchange Hybrid environment and data privacy and GDPR, please go to your working council, go to your data privacy officer and said, Exchange is an infrastructure tool. It's a typical infrastructure tool and not a tool like Teams or like this. It's infrastructure. This helps a lot. And for Q&A and for summary, I create this slide before the session. So we have all of these Purview tools together. So Exchange loves Purview with protect, monitor, discover, record and privacy management together. So you have all of the tools you need to fulfill. From my 15,000 regulations worldwide, we can fulfill around 14,850. I can match to the Microsoft Purview. So thank you very much. I raised 5 minutes more. You get at the end links and we can have a little bit of Q&A while switching to the other session or switching to another day, but we have some sessions today. So thank you very much. Any questions? I have a look into the chat. I see here, can you share some links to more information regarding archive emails to SharePoint? Yes, I put this into the links into the slides. That's perfect. Rico, that's Rico Sandy, that's possible. I put it into the slides, into the slide deck. That's perfect. Thank you, Spencer. Any questions? Any more? Please send me an email or use Exchange Online. I see it. No, send me an email. Send me use Teams. Use Twitter. Use LinkedIn. Use here. See me in another session. For example, I have 2 sessions more. Please join us. Have a lot of fun. Yeah, and yeah, very cool. There's more. Okay, Rob is answering. Thank you very much. Can you verify that the new hold is in place when you remove them? Okay. Hold on mailboxes. There was a question. Thank you, Rob, for answering. Okay. Hopefully there's nothing open. Any questions? Any more? If not, maybe we can stop the recording and you can ask then a question or send me an email. As an